I live alone in a small rental house outside of Pittsburgh. It's not rural, but not urban either. A quiet little cul-de-sac off a side street, where the only people who come by are the Amazon guys or the occasional Girl Scout with cookies. It was a Thursday night, cold, rainy, and just overall miserable, and I didn't feel like cooking. So I did what most of us do when we're lazy and hungry. I ordered delivery. Thai food. Same restaurant I've ordered from for the past 2 years. I remember the estimated time was 42 minutes. The app even gave me the name of the driver, Josh, and said he'd be arriving around 8:15. At exactly 8:08, I got a message. Your dasher is approaching. I walked to the front window and peeked through the blinds. No car in the driveway. Porch light was on. No movement. I figured he'd be there any second, so I grabbed some cash to tip. By 8:20, still nothing. I refreshed the app. The location dot showed he was arriving, frozen right in front of my house. I stepped outside, thinking maybe he was lost or couldn't find the address. That happens sometimes when it's dark and raining. But then, I saw him. He was already on my porch, just standing there, completely still. No umbrella, no bag in his hand, just watching the front door, like he was waiting for it to open on its own. I froze in the doorway. He didn't move, didn't flinch. His face was slightly obscured by the hood of his jacket, which was soaked, but I could tell he was young, early 20s maybe. No visible name tag or delivery bag, though. I finally spoke. Hey, you Josh? Nothing. Not a word. Just this wet, silent guy staring at me through the screen door. He finally reached into his pocket. For a second, I tensed. I thought it might be a weapon. But he pulled out a crumpled receipt, held it out with 2 fingers. Still no food in sight. I didn't open the door. Something felt off. I said, did you forget the order? He nodded once, slowly, then turned around and walked off the porch. No car, no other person nearby, just him walking into the rain and down the street until he disappeared into the darkness. I stood there for a good minute, listening to the sound of water dripping from the gutters and my own heart beating in my ears. Then I locked the door. I texted the app's support line to report the weird experience. They apologized and refunded me, said they'd follow up with the driver. I didn't even think to save the receipt or get his license plate. I just tried to brush it off. Maybe he was just off. Maybe it was nothing. But that wasn't the last I saw of him. 2 nights later, I got back home late from work. It was around 11 p.m. I work security at a data center, so I'm usually fried by the time I pull into the driveway. As I'm getting out of my car, I hear it. The faint sound of footsteps on the gravel around the side of the house. I froze, turned slowly toward the backyard, and that's when I saw the silhouette. Someone was standing at the far edge of my fence, near the back gate. No light, no movement. Just there. I shouted, "Who's there?" The figure ducked and vanished. I ran inside and called the non-emergency police line. 2 officers came by within 10 minutes. They looked around the property, took my statement, and told me to call 911 if anything else happened. They left at 11:40. At 11:57, there was a knock on the door. A single, heavy knock. I crept to the peephole. It was him. Soaked again. Same jacket. Same expression. No food bag. Just standing there, like some kind of sleepwalker stuck in a loop. This time I didn't open the door. I turned off every light and sat in the hallway with my phone in my hand, ready to dial. He stood there for 12 minutes. I counted. Then he walked away. I filed a formal report the next morning. Showed them the app records and everything. They told me the account assigned to Josh was flagged as inactive. And get this, it had been used fraudulently just days prior. Someone was using it without authorization. No ID on the guy. No name. No vehicle description. No real record of who he was. They told me to stay vigilant and suggested getting a camera system. So I did. I installed 2 ring cams, one for the front porch, one for the side gate. I tried to move on, but about a week later, the alerts started. Every night, 2:33 a.m., on the dot, the porch cam would send me a motion notification. Every time I checked the footage, nothing. Just rain, or wind, or nothing at all. Until the 4th night. That's when I saw it. A blurry figure, low to the ground, crawling past the camera, just at the edge of the lens. It paused and looked up, right into the camera. Just eyes, wide and shining in the infrared. He crawled back out of frame. I sent it to the police again. They opened a new case, but said without a clearer image or ID, they couldn't do much. I haven't ordered food delivery since. Now when I get hungry, I cook. I want to start by saying that I don't scare easily. I've lived in Philly most of my life, and if you've been here long enough, you get used to weird stuff. Sirens at night, strangers yelling in the streets. You learn to tune it all out. But what happened last winter shook me more than anything I've dealt with. And it all started with a bag of Chinese food I never ordered. It was a Sunday evening, cold, snow on the ground, but not enough to keep people inside. I was working from home and watching football when the knock came. Just 2 knocks, not aggressive, but loud enough that I heard it over the game. I looked through the peephole. A delivery guy was standing there, late 20s maybe, black winter coat, orange reflective bag hanging off one shoulder. I opened the door slightly and said, "Hey, I didn't order anything." He blinked and checked the receipt stapled to the bag. "You, Mike? This is 3247 Lansbury?" "Yeah, but I didn't place an order." He double-checked. "This is from King Wok. Chicken lo mein, beef egg rolls, pork fried rice." That caught my attention. That was exactly what I always ordered. My usual combo from that place. I'd ordered that same meal a dozen times before. But not that night. I told him again, I didn't place this order. Maybe someone else did it by mistake? He shrugged, clearly just wanting to be done with the shift. "Already paid for. Says tip included." He handed me the bag and walked off before I could say anything else. I stood there for a second, just staring at it. The receipt had my full name, address, and even the phone number I use on delivery apps. But the order was placed through a platform I don't even use. A small one I'd never heard of. I called King Wok. A woman answered. I told her I think there was a mix-up, that I got food I didn't order. She hesitated before saying, "That's the second time that's happened this week." I asked if she could see who placed the order. She said, "It came through our third-party system. No way to track the customer, only that it matched your info exactly." I should have thrown it away, or at least not eaten it. But it was hot. It smelled amazing, and I was hungry. So I ate it. That was my first mistake. The next night, I got another delivery. Same driver. Same exact order. No knock this time. He left it on the doorstep and walked away. Now I knew something was off. I stood outside, bag in hand, looking around to see if anyone was watching. Nobody. I called King Wok again. They said this one came from a different app, another tiny one I'd never used. I started to feel sick, and not just from the food. Someone was going out of their way to send me meals from obscure platforms with all my correct info, and it was happening intentionally. The third delivery came on Wednesday, but it didn't come to my house. It was delivered to my work, to my office building. Same food, same receipt, same name. The front desk guy, Todd, joked when he handed it to me. "Yo, Mike, someone really wants you fed, huh?" That's when I realized this wasn't just about food anymore. Whoever was doing this, they knew where I lived, where I worked, what I ate. I started going through my accounts, locking down old passwords, checking for hacks. Nothing. Every app I had was clean. My credit card wasn't being charged. The food was always marked as paid by gift card. The cops, they shrugged it off, said unless it escalated, there wasn't much they could do. "Free food's not a crime," one of them actually said. But I didn't feel lucky. I felt hunted. The next week, it changed. No more food. Just things left at my door. First, it was a plastic takeout container with no label, filled with rice and 2 fortune cookies. No bag, no receipt, just sitting on the mat. One of the cookies was already broken open. The fortune said, "It's polite to say thank you." That night I installed a camera. The next morning the footage was blank, as in, the file existed, but there was nothing on it. Like the system glitched right when someone walked up. I checked the timestamp, 3:17 a.m., and saw one single frame before it cut out. A blur of a shape. Could have been a person. Could have been a shadow. That day I stayed home, called off work. Around 2 p.m., I looked out my front window and saw a car I didn't recognize idling across the street. Not moving, just sitting there. I walked out with my phone. As soon as I stepped onto the porch, the car pulled off fast. I didn't get the plate. The final delivery came that night. No food, just a note, handwritten on lined paper, taped to the door. "Don't ignore your fans." I moved 2 weeks later. New apartment, new job, new phone number. I've never used food delivery again. Not because I don't trust the apps, because I don't trust the people behind them. A few years ago, my best friend Will hit a rough patch. Lost his job at the warehouse, got his car broken into, and then broke up with his girlfriend all in the same month. He needed money, fast. And he wasn't too picky about how. That's how he ended up working for a sketchy delivery service called Zentra Eats. Never heard of it? Yeah, neither had I. That's part of the problem. He found it on a Reddit thread about hidden gig apps, stuff that didn't make it to the App Store but paid under the table. He downloaded it from some janky site, signed up, and boom. He was working by the next morning. I didn't think much of it at first. Will was always chasing weird side hustles. But this one stuck with me. Because I don't think Zentra Eats was really about food delivery. At first, it seemed normal. He'd get a notification, it would list a pickup spot and a drop-off address, just like Uber Eats or DoorDash. Only thing was, the food wasn't always from restaurants. One time, it was from a guy's apartment. Another time, it was a storage unit on the edge of town. Will said someone just handed him a sealed plastic bag and said, "Don't open it." He laughed it off. "Dude, I'm getting paid $30 a trip. I don't care what's inside." But I cared. I told him, "That's how people end up being drug mules without realizing it." He waved me off. "Nah, it's just some weird ghost kitchen or something." But then the deliveries started getting weirder. One night, he called me at 11:30. "Bro," he said, voice shaking, "I think I just saw someone get kidnapped." He'd been sent to a back alley behind an industrial warehouse. When he got there, a man in a black hoodie shoved a large duffel bag into his car, gave him an address scribbled on paper, and said, "Drop it off in 20 minutes, no later." Will said he barely looked at the guy before he peeled off. He drove halfway there before pulling over and calling me. He wanted to open the bag. I told him not to. He said it felt soft, like blankets or clothing, but something about the weight freaked him out, and the faint smell. He ended up leaving the bag on a random doorstep and deleted the app that night. I thought that was the end of it. But that's when it started getting scary. A week later, Will texted me a photo. It was a screenshot from his phone, a delivery notification from Zentra Eats. Order assigned, pickup from 1539 Whitaker Lane, delivery ETA 9:15 p.m. Only he had deleted the app. It wasn't on his phone anymore. He tried to block the notifications. Factory reset the phone. They kept coming. Different names, different addresses. But all of them near his house. He swore someone was tracking him. I told him to go to the police. He laughed. Tell them what? That I was running black market spring rolls for some made-up app? I could tell he was scared, but pretending he wasn't. 2 nights later, he showed up at my apartment, unannounced. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. I let him crash on the couch. We ordered pizza, and I tried to get him to relax. Around 2 a.m., I heard a soft chime, like a phone notification. Then another. Then knocking. Not at the front door, at the back. I live on the 2nd floor. There's no back door. We looked out the window, and someone was standing in the alley below, holding a delivery bag. Not moving, not speaking, just standing there, staring up at our building. Will froze. "That's the guy," he whispered. "That's the guy who gave me the bag." I told him to call the cops, but when we looked again, the guy was gone. The next morning, Will was gone too. He left a note on my kitchen counter. It just said, "Don't accept anything from Zentra. They don't want food delivered, they want access." I haven't heard from him since. His phone is disconnected. His social accounts are all deleted. I drove to his apartment. It was cleared out. No forwarding address. No trace. I even tried re-downloading Zentra Eats to see if I could find anything. But the app doesn't exist anymore. The download link is dead. Even Google won't pull anything up now. Sometimes I wonder if it was ever real at all. But then, once a month, I still get a delivery notification. Always around 9 p.m., always from a different number, and always with the same message. You've been assigned a drop. I've never accepted one. But I don't know how many people have. And I don't know what happens when you say yes.